Good afternoon. This is the meeting of the Open Space Committee. It's February 19th and the time is 2:30. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local access channel 8 and to the town website www.eastham-ma.gov. All right. Welcome, everyone. We have a full roster right now. We'll take attendance since we're partial Zoom. Francis here. Linda Dorflinger here. Joanna Buffington.
Robert Young here.
Karen Strauss here.
Michelle Vion here.
Okay, so we have 6 people here today. Just before we start the business of the meeting, Kate Logan is not joining us and she's not part of the committee anymore. She did resign, and I want to thank her for her energy and commitment to the open space issues over the last 5 years. I first met her during the pandemic and we were having Zoom meetings and there was a whole different era then. I want to thank her for being a committee tech person who we got to think about and a voice for young families here in Eastham. We will miss her, but she said she wanted to be part of any work projects and that we will be doing. So we'll connect with her next month. I'd like that as a group. All right, so OSRP. I also want to acknowledge that Shana has done so much work on this ongoing project of how many years now, Karen? 2 years, 3 years?
25. 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, besides the delay. On January 28th, well, she's done a lot of work on this. January 28th meeting, we reviewed chapter 5, the inventory of lands of conservation and recreation interest. That is essentially done. A recommendation from that section is that there be a review of the town open spaces properties that might need a CR protection that don't currently have one. There's going to be a space at the end for suggestions. On February 11th meeting, we worked on a community survey. We will approve and finalize the survey at the next meeting, which I think is March. It's the first week of March. It will be ready in April to be shared with the community through town meeting day. Shana has had a meeting scheduled with Paul Lag to get the latest housing and development data for the community setting section. And our next meeting, it is March 11th. It's moving along. It's moving along. The land management plan is not moving along. We're waiting for the report from Tom Farrell, the forester, and Shana has been emailing him on you know what's the process, but I think his job description is very wide, so it's a time crunch. Any questions on those 2 meetings? Okay. All right. The next one is Sandy Meadow, and the signs are in.
The signs are in.
Your office.
You want to see them after the meeting?
They're absolutely, they're fabulous.
I just was over there collecting some beets from the back fridge, but
Okay.
they're
To install them.
Great. So they're really cool,
Wow.
cool looking, so be sure you'll look at them. I had a question. There was a note from Parcel. Did they get full payment for those yet?
Yes, I cleared that up.
So that's done.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
did we spend everything or do we have money left?
No, there's a remainder left, and that'll be put towards the future sign.
Well, how's that going? The trailhead sign. Where are we? on
Oh,
that?
right, we still have
That one.
some left in our,
Yeah.
Right,
We
so
have some
I,
left in the kitty for that.
yeah, so that one still needs to be completed. As far as, I guess we can touch on that with the trail map update as well, but
Yeah.
we need the map of Sandy Meadow to proceed with that third sign.
My notes here told me that we'd have to work through Paul's office to get a satellite image, is that correct?
Well, it's, not to get the image itself, but if we wanted to map out the trail on satellite imagery. That's what we would need, GIS to do that, and that's all computing.
So to get this moving forward, because I'm all excited after
Right.
seeing these beautiful signs. What's the next step here? Do we need a little meeting with you? Couple of us to get that sign going? or
Yeah,
what?
why don't we schedule, a sit down meeting and just kind of outline. What we want on that map.
Yeah.
And,
Cause I have to go back to my notes and look and see what we said from there. We had a design
Right.
and we had
some text.
We
I
had some
think,
text with it, so
I
we
think
have-
some of the historical part that
Yeah.
Karen, I think you did
Yeah.
some of that. Wasn't that for the trailhead sign? Some of the
Yeah,
history?
it's in the
Yeah.
draft.
yeah,
Okay,
which we have,
There's a draft, Adobe
Right.
Illustrator with
right.
with the text. We're just waiting. We need to do the trail map at a sufficient resolution, and we need to write a legend to go on the
Okay.
sign with that.
So can
And
we
I
set a-
think
yeah, you wanna meet sometime next week? Works for me.
Yeah, maybe if you look at your schedule, and then the rest of us can look to see who could meet with you. I think if we have two people. That can go to the office and you can have a sit down
Yeah.
and do it. So if you
Next week is,
do we have how much money do we have? How much did we spend? Just thinking the original was
I
7,000.
think,
We spent 4 something, I think was the.
yeah, so I think we've got a couple thousand.
So we should have enough
Mhm.
to do that sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think we had like 7,000 or 7,200
Yes,
Yeah.
as a budget, so we have enough, I believe, to do that trailhead sign.
right.
Good.
all right, so we're gonna look at,
Especially if we're going to mount it on the existing posts, as we talked about.
And where are we on the ADA?
That's
Next.
next.
Okay.
Just get this done. That's it.
okay, so I'll look at next Monday, Thursday or Friday,
Okay, so if you
I'll send that around.
send that around and two people can go, and then we can get this going. Great, super. Super. Excellent. All right. Now the ADA Trail Extension. Now, Alex, can you tell us where we are on that, please?
Yeah, so as you know, I think where we were the last time we met.
I'm not sure other people here were aware of what the Mesa.
Prickly pears,
Yeah,
yeah, so as you know, Sandy Meadow is within priority habitat, that's a state designated. Area, and to do work in priority habitat requires a MESA review. Which we submitted. And the state got back to us and was requesting a botanical survey of the prickly pear cactus.
I thought I'd heard somewhere that had come off I think Mark Robinson actually said that, because we used to be really careful of prickly pear, and then I heard somewhere that it was no longer of that much concern.
My understanding is it's recently added.
Yes.
Added.
Yeah.
You may tell we had a. meeting.
Was it off and added back? Because it was on the list for a long time. And Devin
Yeah,
from NHESP was very adamant that this was an important plant to protect, so.
We had a Zoom call with NHESP and with you.
That being said, the
Right.
way we're remedying this is how
We should do a survey. How are we gonna pay for it?
we.
Can we-
We're getting there.
Where is that?
So
Let him talk, he's
We've
got a
got-
lot to say.
I had a contact for a botanist who could do the survey. But also, Bob Cook is also able to do the survey. We sent Bob Cook's credentials to NHESP and they cleared him as someone who would be able to perform the survey for us. So that's A big relief, and that kind of speeds up the process on our end. I met with Bob this afternoon, kind of walked through the protocol for this survey. Essentially, the NHESP wants us to do a survey 15 feet on either side of the proposed ADA trail, because that's to them is the limit of work. You know, if you've got equipment in there, the equipment needs to turn around. That 15-foot buffer is the area that they're concerned with. Bob is pretty confident that there are no prickly pears within this scope of work, but we need to prove that. And so we're hoping within the next days that so Bob's going to be traveling later this week. We're going to get the protocol to NHESP by the end of this week. So hopefully the first week in March will be when we'll be able to get out there and do the survey itself. There's some other supplemental materials that NHESP requested. They wanted an updated map, a little bit more detailed narrative. So I'm also in the process of compiling that and sending that in to complete the review. So once they have all this information, they could make their determination on the project and issue any conditions that they feel is necessary. One issue we have is that we're potentially running up on a time of year restriction. I believe that was for the spadefoot toad.
Yeah.
And that's the end of March. Devin kind of hinted that perhaps there's some wiggle room with that. So that's a conversation perhaps myself and maybe Bob could have with Devin to see if, perhaps we can get an exemption for that time of year restriction, because they've got a month to review our additional information, and by that time, we're already running up on March.
But Bob, of course, as you well know, is also an amphibian expert. And if it's just the 15 feet, that maybe, we'll see what he thinks. But still, it's the company who we've gotten to do it wants to do it in their downtime. So they don't want to be working in the spring.
Right.
Because they're busy.
So
Okay.
we hope it all comes together.
Great.
I had a fun afternoon with Bob. I went out when we heard this was happening. He luckily was home, so I did the survey with him, and we did that zigzag walk.
Yeah.
On 15 feet of either side.
Yeah.
And he, of course, knows that property inside out. So it really is gonna speed things along. And he knew it 5 years ago. There used to be on the other side of the property, a very sickly stand of prickly pear cactus. And he went back to his files, and he's got tremendous files, and found pictures of them, and they were very sickly. And so his guess was they hadn't survived the drought, because we spent a lot of time looking for those survivors on the other side of the property. So it was a very interesting afternoon.
Yeah.
And there is prickly, the cactus is on, where's it?
Asparagus Lane.
Asparagus Lane, if you want to see it. We do have some in East Ham, but not on Sandy Meadow.
Yeah, we're fortunate that this is a species that you can identify year round.
Right.
It's easily identifiable. And so when it comes to like taking a botanical survey for prickly pear, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
We don't have to.
I can even recognize it.
So what does it look like?
What do you call it?
Is
It's a
Is it flat?
It's got a,
Yeah, it's kind of paddle.
it's like that, a paddle
I
leaf.
have a bunch of that in my back.
yeah.
Yeah, when you have it, like they're quite robust.
Yeah.
They get
And they're pretty. They flower. Yellow flower.
Yellow flowers, pinkish or reddish kind of fruit in the fall. They're very easy to propagate just by breaking off a paddle and sticking it in the ground. So if we ever wanted to restore it, a prickly pear cactus area somewhere.
Or low on the ground, they're
Yeah.
ground
Yes,
cover.
so currently there's kind of a lot of moving parts with
Yeah.
the ADA trail at the moment. Everything aligns, I'd like to get this done in the spring, but I guess there is the potential that this may have to wait to the fall.
But you have your next meeting set up with Bob to, because I know that there were some things you were gonna help with, the photographs and everything.
Right,
That's
so I
gonna
went
work out
out,
for you?
yes, I mean, I've already gone out and I've taken additional photographs
Okay.
of the site. And I'm gonna go be out there with Bob, to do the survey itself
Mhm.
as well. Right, so.
All right,
Right,
stay positive.
right.
Mhm.
And we did make a contact with her name was Devin Harrington, who will be reviewing.
Yeah, and she's been super helpful.
Yeah, she was
as well.
good, so we put our best foot forward.
Yeah,
Whatever. So that's where we are on that, catch everybody up to date. Anything else? I think you covered everything else. Okay, good. So we hope we can get it done. It would be so nice to get that done late March, last 2 weeks of March. I was just wondering if maybe a courtesy note to the contractor telling what happened.
Yep.
And right now, looking at, the last 2 weeks of March as a possibility,
Mhm.
something like that, so that he can plan his time.
yeah,
Mhm. That'd be good.
Yeah, just a courtesy. Or, I don't know, you and Bob can talk, maybe the first week in April. I don't know how strict this cutoff is,
Yeah.
but if you send him back, then he can plan it with us, I think.
yeah, I touched base with a contractor, was perhaps end of January, but I think now we are in a good spot
Right.
to give him an update.
Yeah,
kind of where
we
things
know,
stand.
yeah, right. Cool. All right, what's next? Oh, priority parcel review. Thank you, Joanna.
This is a lot of work.
Lot of work.
Yeah, this was a few years ago, and actually I went through and I have some updates that
So
you
that,
you
I mean,
can
it's
make.
an
There's-
ongoing topic, yeah.
Yeah, well, the most, so what we'd done was at the time, and Shayna was a help with doing the spreadsheets too, and putting on the different aspects of, is it contiguous with other protected space? What's the habitat? Is there a public water supply? Abuts something other protected, pond front, is there a building on it? So all these categories are helpful. And the highlighted ones were kind of a, not strictly speaking, but kind of a top wanted list. And I will say that 100 Cole Road is now ECF, thanks, it has the CR held by the town. So there's a few that have been protected. So if you, the 100 Cole Road is conservation land now. The one 2/3 of the way down that first list that has it says 270 Dyer Prince Road. That's an error. That's actually one, I don't know how it was, that parcel is 147 Goody Hallett Road. That, so it's map 20, parcel 56.
Yeah.
That's 147 Goody Hallett, which is also now owned by ECF. It abuts the youth hostel, and it was purchased by ECF. Moving back up the list to map 15, parcel 128, 20 Deacon Payne is in the process of being acquired by ECF. It's in an interim, it's being held by an entity saving it for ECF to raise the funds to buy it, and it's on CPA for this town meeting for 50,000 towards that. And so that's on that front sheet, there's 3 sort of off the priority list because we protected them. And interestingly, it took for a long time, but number 2 on the list, Route 6, 1185 Route 6, which is 2 acres. There's an isolated wetland in there. It was on the market for a long time, and it kept accruing back taxes. The town finally did a tax taking. And so 1185 Route 6, 2.027 acres is owned by the town and it's listed as, tax vacant select board. That's one that should be on our list of, it should move to the Conservation Commission. I mean, that I think would be our recommendation, that those 2 acres not have something else done with. They're mostly wetland. There's no access except directly to Route 6. There's some abutters behind that are concerned about somebody doing, when it was on the market, there were never any buyers. So anyway, highlight that one as the town owns it now, but the status, it would be nice to make that officially conservation. And then I have a number of other, so that's all, that's been really changed. If you look at the assessed value, those are all old, and I updated some of those. And if you then look at what's left in bold that are still, those are all still, I think, high priority for us, the bolded ones that are still there. And the chapter 61 ones on that list are on the second page, the Higgins Road Fellers property. That's, that's a lot. That's 20, almost 30 acres. That's still under chapter 61. The Massasoit Road, the Handle property also, where's that one? Is chapter 61. So if it comes on the market, the town gets right of first refusal. Where's that one?
Is that chapter 61?
Chapter 61.
First refusal.
So that's a temporary tax break to not develop it. The one on Massasoit is the Handle property. It's on the bay side. It's 11 acres of lots of marsh front and the antique house right on the road. So, and it's a farming agriculture, chapter 61. The Higgins 30 acres is forest. That whole acreage has 2 little cottages down by the bay. So they're still assessed quite highly because of that bayfront. Fellers, yeah.
On Higgins Road.
Higgins Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
walked
Oh, yeah,
by.
there's Handle, Massasoit Roads on the same page.
I hate to see that though.
Yeah. And then the other big chunks that, every developer, anyone looking is gonna find are that one on Governor Prince, the privately owned, this 26 acres, two and a half along the bike path, but the same owner with the 22. That's a big chunk with the peeper right by the bike path, the loud peepers. That's still something we want to pay attention to, and opportunities come up. So any questions? I'm going to go in my spreadsheet. I'm going to see if I can now with Max do weird things with pages and numbers. They've changed all this up. I'm going to see if I can update this without just doing it by hand and then re-share it, correct it and update it, but when I get around to it.
Oh, you don't have Excel on your computer?
No,
Oh,
it makes me use this Mac numbers thing and then I can export it to Excel, but I can't work in any of these other programs anymore. It drives me
back
crazy.
and forth. So it's a little bit of a nuisance.
Yeah.
Well,
I can- Yeah.
let me talk to you about that after the meeting. I have a thought. The other thing I noticed that the Nickerson Conservation Area is not in the spreadsheet
This is
town-owned property.
Oh, I didn't re-look at that. This list was, I'm just looking at the privately owned parcels.
Right,
Priority
but
list.
just mentioning that. But
Oh, that
I-
should be on town owned, yeah. I didn't look at that town owned.
yeah, but I probably, if you want to work in Excel, could share, or Alex could share out the spreadsheet from a SharePoint file online, and then you could just work through the web browser on it. Or
Yeah, that's what Shana did
Anyway.
the Excel spreadsheets originally. But yeah, and Nickerson Conservation Area should be on the town owned one. I don't know why that's not on there, but
Yeah. There are a bunch of properties that are still incorrect in the assessor's database.
Oh, yeah, numerous ones are still not correct in terms of the oversight or,
Mhm.
yeah. Well,
Yeah. And then just looking at this, I know we haven't been over it in a while. I think we should expand our reach and look at properties, especially salt marsh adjacent, that do have dwellings on them as they come up, because there's a particular property on Route 6 that is just got permitted for a house from Concom 320 State Highway with a empty property next to it that might have been something that we should have been looking to acquire.
Mhm.
And I know the first round, earlier rounds, we didn't look at ones with houses.
This sheet actually does have, I added a number with, there's with a building on it. And there's a couple on a number on Governor Prince Road, Clark's Point, the Mumford,
Yes.
Cartway North, of course, the hunting camp on it. And then in the second list, it's, there's several big chunks right abutting the southeast conservation area that have a single owner, one house, 11, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one's 12 acre, the same owners own two parcels, each with a house on, and one's 12 acres with one house, and the other one is 2.5 acres with one house. So that's a huge chunk abutting conservation area. So I did go and add those house ones, and the same Smith Farm Lane.
I didn't want to bring that one up.
Smith Farm Lane has the beautiful antique on Bridge Road. 1800 Bridge Road, Georgia Schneider, lovely. But then there's another chunk back there that same, 7 or 8 acres, and Muddy Pond. So there's some nice properties. If something, we want to, be ready to consider, make sure private owners know we exist, and maybe they would work with us to protect all or part of their property. Hidden Village is the other huge one with 5 or 6, cool homes on it, but lots of woods back there.
Yeah.
So they're at cottages, yeah,
Yeah,
summertime.
yep.
But that still brings up the question we never quite solved of how we approach property owners so that we are on their radar.
Well,
And we also never finished working with the town to put a protocol in place if some of these properties come up suddenly. So
right. Henry Lind did in 2020. He has some history with some of these property owners from way before 2020. Some of these property owners. And so in 2020, when we had discussed that same issue, I'm just looking at his email. The bulk of our efforts were certainly prior to 2011. So, a couple decades ago. And then he put together a table that had kind of the responses at that time of some of these parcels. And so they had been approached a few decades ago by Henry Lind, but that has not recurred. And most of them are in the same ownership, same families, the children of, or, the Governor Prince ones, the Massasoit, the Higgins, they're all, so, we still need to figure out what to do if something comes up, it's gonna be fast. It could be really fast. And
so what do we do? I mean, do we have a subcommittee get together to discuss how we approach people?
I think
Or
what
do
we pretty much have
commission?
decided, we as an open space committee really can't
do anything?
be like approaching anyone with a potential. But Karen, what do you remember from?
I'm not sure that I completely agree with that as a philosophy. I think that as a town entity charged with protecting open space, and looking at for properties to acquire, that perhaps it would make sense to figure out a protocol where we could at least contact the highest priority parcel owners and have a conversation about why it's important to protect the properties and let them know that we are at least interested in them. And I know I've talked before about perhaps seeing if it made sense to put in some kind of program where for the highest priority parcels, we might see about purchasing a right of first refusal. Because so many of these properties, as they come up, we don't hear about in a timely enough manner. And I think that's a loss for the town.
Yeah,
And then looking at how we might address these when they do come up. I know we had last left it a couple of years ago that Jackie was going to write a protocol on how that would happen, and it didn't get done. So it seems like all of these things, maybe it's time to circle back on it again.
right. One of those was when we had the meeting with the affordable house folks, and we looked at some of these big properties that have really great potential for both of these things, and working together to acquire them would benefit everybody. I mean, if we sit in we only want to keep it completely open space and we want to build houses all over it, I think we both lose. Because some of these really could be put together on. And the funding then opens up much more of a potential.
So I have a question. So Karen, and have we done anything in the past? I mean, is there anything that we have tried to do that's been successful with property owners?
We haven't really tried anything. I think we've
Really?
just discussed it a lot.
Okay.
You know who initiated those conversations in the past?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Who initiated those conversations in the past with property owners? Do we know?
Well, sometimes property owners have initiated conversations with the town or the committee or members of, but I don't know that the committee has ever initiated conversations.
No, and I mean, Henry did it as, the land trust. The Lee family is the only one recently I remember approaching the open space committee. Oh, and the people who,
the salt marsh near Herring Pond.
the near the Herring Run.
Yeah.
Crosby Village Road, their realtor or lawyer contacted us because it wasn't selling. So yeah, I mean, it's and the Lee family with those two lots wanted market price from the town, which wasn't ever gonna happen.
And that one property up in the water protection district. Also, that owner contacted us. The landlocked property that we decided wasn't worth.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah,
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
So just a very few.
Yeah. Yeah, but
and other people who, there's been one or two that have contacted me that I sent along to Joanna and ECF, which because it didn't make sense for us to look at, but mostly people don't think to contact us. But it would make sense for us to explore again how we might be a little more proactive in a low key kind of.
Right. Well, and again, that brings back to mind the Stowe, Massachusetts model, which they had much more land involved. But they started several years, but they sort of knew, both a housing group and conservation group knew this former golf course and big thing was 100 and something acres was going to, morph into something. And they started working with the property owners several, years before to set all these things up. And it was an amazing success. And their lessons and going to the talk of how this happened, you realize goes on the market, you're 2 years, you haven't started talking to somebody. You're
Mhm.
not likely to,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you haven't started considering where the funding is coming from and
right,
for those
right.
large properties as well. But also part and parcel of this are a couple of properties the town owns that are being used for open space or conservation that aren't permanently protected, and how we might, as we're also transferring properties in the assessor's database that aren't listed correctly, how might we go about Sandy Meadow, for example, protecting those? They all seem in some ways part of the same piece.
Mhm.
It,
You had mentioned, Karen, in a previous meeting, with the wastewater treatment
mhm,
issues advancing, that one of the things the town might be required to do is, for each place not protected or used for the septic water treatment, you'd exchange a CR as protecting something else,
mhm.
which is where I don't know where the CR on the well field, the 20-something acres. Oh, we're getting a survey on that. I don't know if it's still on the agenda. The 20-something acres that is supposed to have a CR on it, that will be held by the Eastham Conservation Foundation. That was in exchange for putting in a well, or the
Mhm.
well tower, the tower. That the
Right.
town had to say, okay, we'll permanently protect this acreage. So where's that? Do you know what's happened with the wastewater?
Well, the project has to be no net loss, so there's going to have to be some land set aside for protection. And to my mind, we should be a part of that discussion. And um, certainly concerning which town properties are not set aside for permanent protection, but other properties that we might want to target a little more aggressively if there are going to be funds available for property purchase. But as far as Paul knows, there's no money available yet for property purchases, so to offset what they need to offset. So we'll have to see how that comes up. But it seems to me like we should be engaged in working on that.
So Karen, does it make sense to include some of this in the strategic plan?
The
To put together a process to engage with private, owners who are on, I mean, I'm just saying, how do we sort of put some teeth into this that means that we're serious about engaging, even though we still need to develop a way forward?
Mhm.
I don't know,
Well,
putting it in may or may not help.
well, we did have a priority land plan and land purchases in an earlier draft of the strategic plan, but it somehow
not-
disappeared in all
I
those
know.
other conversations going on in the background to which the committee is not privy.
Privy, that's right. That's why I brought it up.
Uh-huh. Well, we have a meeting coming up later in the month,
Next week.
so
Yeah,
it's the end of the month already.
I know, right?
I think
Right.
when you
we
raise it-
should make that a point to bring up
Well,
somewhere
yeah.
in the meeting next.
But again, for getting buy-in, a broader buy-in, when you look at the bigger chunks that may have opportunities for some housing and land
Mhm.
protection, the cluster design, that's gonna, people will come on board because they've got their, we need this. Okay, well, we'll take that too, but.
Yeah. Well, that was supposed to be part of the purpose of the meeting with housing and planning,
Right.
but the last meeting for that was August 23. So,
Yeah.
and
2022, I think.
was it 20?
Yeah,
It was
a couple of years
It
ago.
was, yeah.
It was a few years ago, 2020. I thought it was 2020, August 23, but it could have been 22.
Okay.
I'm wondering, you think it would make sense for us to have over the next month, a small group put together an agenda of ideas that we would like to discuss with Jackie. Then formalize that. And have for all the good ideas we've heard, and there are, others that people can come up with, and then ask her either to come to a meeting or, back to her office or something. Do you think we're at that point yet? It sounds like we are, because we haven't visited this in a couple of years.
Yeah.
We were talking a lot about it when we had the conservation fund, those kinds of issues, but the last few years we haven't, so.
So what was
Yeah.
this place in Vermont? That,
No, Stowe, Massachusetts.
oh, Stowe, Mass.
Stowe, Mass. The golf course too. Okay, so, let's get that,
Yeah, I'd like to be part of that discussion.
I'm sure, so, and I can put together, the agenda piece, but, we need the input, and Karen, you have a lot of history on this. Joanna, contribute, and,
I can be part of it.
yeah.
As my ideas.
Yeah, right. Well, anyone can be. I'm just thinking of a small group to
Mhm.
start a framework, and then people can add to that framework. Does that make sense? Rather than all of us sitting here proposing it now. Okay.
Yeah,
Karen.
and we just have to watch the quorum on that if
Right.
we're gonna
So
have
that's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you and I, so we can't
How
have
many
more than
people?
3, no more than 2 to do the planning, to present for next month's meeting. What this document might begin to look like,
Mhm.
all right? So, Karen, we can talk about dates after the meetings. Michelle, would you
Yeah.
like to be involved in this? And it might
Yep.
tie in with the strategic plan, and I'll help. And there's your 3. Yeah, there's 3, and then we'll bring a framework to next month for people to share, talk about, add, and then set up a meeting with Jackie. Does that make sense, Alex? Okay, so Karen, I will contact you later, and we'll see
Okay.
how we actually do this. Well, that's a big job to take it on here.
They're all somehow big jobs.
It's a big job, okay, because there's a lot of pieces to this, including the housing piece. I would. Okay, so there's where we are on that, okay. Website and trail map updating, I guess right after Christmas, as Alex, Linda and I, we were walking on, Higgins to see where the trail markers should go. And, from that, we were, something for you to think about and discuss, is our suggestion was what is that? The boundary that seems to be in dispute and that we've had some incursions on is the south boundary of Higgins. And the 3 of us were wondering do you think it's good that we recommend that Alex ask for a survey of the southern boundary so that it's very clear, and then we could put markers up, Eastham town land, Eastham conservation land, which it is, and it never been properly marked, and we haven't responded to what we think are incursions.
So those are,
I think we were
The
gonna
south
look
end
into the
Right.
as well, is that right?
Yeah.
Right,
Talk-
Kate's Way and
Okay.
then the Fox, these guys.
So,
That's something I
It's the Shabbat.
meant
This
to look
is
into
the,
further, but I haven't
okay,
done
got
so
it.
Alex will look into the deed for the Higgins property.
I went down Kate's Way today.
Alex looked at deed for the Higgins property. And then from that, I know when the Higgins property was acquired, there was no survey done at that time, and I don't know when the last definition of the boundaries are. Are you familiar with any of that?
No, as I was saying before, there was the Joyce Howard Higgins. Had, some issues with the town of Eastham encroaching on her and the original. And I think even, I don't know if the assessor database, you know, it was 8 acres. And suddenly it's 5.3. So she was
So,
not happy about that. But no, I don't know if I don't think she had a formal survey done either.
okay, so the first step would be Alex getting the deed for the Higgins property, looking at whatever information we have there. And then going on, one possibility is asking the town to do the hire surveyor.
I think, that was an issue with the purchase. I mean, with the town council even.
Mhm.
It seems, I don't remember now why there wasn't a survey. It seems like that would, the
Don't you have to
town
have a
council
survey?
would have,
Well, they didn't do it, so obviously.
yeah.
So there's a lot of
Yeah.
work to figure out that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
who would pay for the survey?
Yeah,
Would that be, so-
which account would that come out of?
I don't know. I mean, it's one straight line, so
It's only the south,
we're not
the
gonna
south
break the bank.
border.
The other, the north and the south and the east is ECF or town lands around the
Right, which is
national
what, yeah,
seashore.
that, it's that south one
It's
that
that
abuts
south.
private, so,
One boundary line.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's one boundary line, so that's not gonna break the bank, so hopefully they can come up with some money for that. Really? I mean, it's an important thing for the
Well,
town.
They should have done it anyways when they took over the property.
I know.
That should have been required.
Okay, there you go.
So we're just kind of cleaning up their mess.
We're back to.
Did I say that on?
Yeah,
on-
yeah, I'm,
on
we're being recorded, yeah.
yeah, we'll bleep you out later. No,
Okay, I'll say it
Free-
again.
free. we'll take out the Sharpie and redact it later.
Well, we can't put up any signs until we have
That line.
that line.
Yeah.
Right. Because we
Because
wanted
that's
to
the
be
line
very
in
clear
question.
on when you were
Yeah.
leaving the property. And it really would be nice to have a sign that we lost.
What would be really nice is, if we are able to acquire any abutting property that might come on the market.
Yeah, that would be good.
Along a similar vein, we've got the
Yeah.
trail markers.
Nice.
Mhm.
We have a lot of trail markers.
Good. We need to acquire more land and put more trails up.
I've just had these in the office, if there's someone want to take a pack with them, or.
Why don't I take them? Because I have his original bag with the nails and the other.
Do you want all of them? Or-
Let's keep it all
I think
together.
it should be in one place.
Yeah.
where the
You and I
decision
will
is
talk.
made,
Do it in.
if you can do it that way.
Right.
Yes,
So Linda, anytime when the weather warms up and you want to set up any other work groups. You have all the equipment down. Um. So on that, we're gonna get the deed and then go forward from that on the Higgins. And then you have the markers. So, and I had a note here that you wanted to add some more at Southeast, yeah.
Is that also a property that you want to do a site visit at? Or no?
Linda,
have you been there?
I have, but it's been, I think the last time I was there, I was looking at vernal pools. with Bob Cook. It's dark.
yeah, well,
Yeah, I think Kate got lost in there, and so she wanted more.
yeah, right,
More
and we put
markers.
some on, but some, I think it was you thought we needed even more. So that's one,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, now you've got enough to put one every 2 feet.
Well, we don't want that, but yeah,
No, I'm just joking.
yeah,
Because
right.
that's quite a lot of trail markers.
Well,
Which
you know,
is-
I think it used to be a big collection and then we
Mhm.
went to the mall, and then we were down to zero.
Yeah,
Some of the committee members bought them so that we could get some of the trails picked up. So now we're all set for a few years.
yeah.
And
So
then,
are trail makers like socks? They just disappear and you don't know where they've gone.
right. And I was thinking for the group that was working on the legends and the trails. Now, did Kate have some records that you have to get from her?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes, yeah, and,
Could we look at those next week during our meeting,
Next week, you have a meeting?
the map meeting? I'll send some dates out.
Oh,
Whoever the small group is next
Mhm.
week. If we can get that from Kate.
right,
yeah.
I'll try to get it.
This week.
Yeah.
She has, her
Yeah.
father's is this week up in New York, so,
Mhm. Okay.
may not be available to respond.
Okay.
Right
Can
now.
can I suggest that whoever is talking to Kate to get trail map info might also get from her whatever she has towards the Friends of Open Space and stewardship materials, so that everything she's been working on, we have the latest copies and stuff, so it can continue without her.
And then the Facebook, she was running the
Yeah, well,
Facebook.
You gotta.
And then the Facebook and the Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah,
someone has to be added to that,
yeah,
and then she can drop off. She can
Right.
add anybody to that, and
Not I.
then she
Yeah.
can drop off.
So
Yeah.
Somebody who's on there a lot, does a lot of posts and stuff, should probably do that first.
I'll be
Yeah,
me.
so
That would
this seems like the opportunity to bring up again the idea that it would be helpful to have a shared network folder somewhere so that all of this stuff could be copies kept in one place. So as people come and go, we'd still have that set of documents and information, and as new people join, that they would have easy access to it. Is
I
that something?
agree, Karen, because I was gonna bring that up later, but let's talk about it
Mhm.
now, since again, I would like, your consensus to talk to the IT department and, Alex has suggested that Sharice Nunley is the person to talk to about creating an open space folder of some sort on the town's
website?
server, not the website. It will be open, this is my thinking, it is open, you know, we have to make decisions. Open to the people on the open space committee,
Mhm.
where we would put documents like, well, a lot of things that we've been talking.
Well, like the priority land.
Fire, so that's what I meant, not for
Yeah.
public,
Mhm.
for
That would be,
our committee.
so it continues no matter who's on the
Yeah,
committee.
because,
Has access.
for instance, all the history too that, we garnered from, the history of the acquisition of Sandy Meadow. And that it was for recreation and conservation, and now
Yeah.
there's a push for maybe, oh, let's put some housing there. That actually, all that kind of information. Karen has a lot, Joanna has a lot, Kate has a lot, I have some too, and I would, after I talk to Sharice, I'd be willing to take that on to try to organize that, catalog it. I'm good at cataloging, you know, I can hit delete and enter those things, but to do a catalog that makes sense to the people coming in.
Mhm.
Do I have,
I have my vote.
okay,
Someone.
Yeah.
to go ahead with that, so I'm gonna contact her and just start the conversation. It'll be a process, and it'll be months before everything gets over, but at least it'll be
Right, we'll have one central place.
one central place where we can look things up independently. Because, you know, we have there's a key with Bob Cook's files, and Karen has a lot of his, I have some of his.
Mhm.
I think it really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
just shared
sure.
a bunch of files with me.
Right, and Alex has files too, but this would be the open space And the conservation agent would be, to be part of that group too. Yeah, that I think would make the history part more, accessible to us. And we could make decisions about what do we want to put in it too.
Yeah.
As we go along.
Yeah,
Alright.
the only thing we have to keep in mind of if we wanted to do collaborative work, like if a couple of people wanted to work on updating the priority land spreadsheet, that would need to be limited again to under a quorum who would be editing any specific document together in order to avoid open meeting law issues.
Right.
So there would have to be some protocols in place on how,
Well, we can
how,
develop that. One thing might be the
Right.
decision in a meeting, we'd like to update something, and then 2 or 3 people would volunteer to do it, and it would be on the record that those 3 people were going to do it. I don't know. You're right, though. There's a lot of pieces to that.
Mhm.
So, I would suggest we wait till next week to contact Kate, even though
Yeah.
just because of the family situation. Okay. And then we know there's Instagram, Facebook, all the files, the paragraphs that have been written. There's a lot of information there. All right. So, who's gonna do it next week? Thank you. You can start the conversation with her and we'll. Yeah, she'd be happy to do it, but then we're, when it comes, you have to hold it somehow, thumbprints, on a key or something so that we can. Thank you. All right, open. And the next thing is the Forest Advisory Committee. I had a meeting February 4th. Their next planting date is May 3rd. And there's going to be a plan for Winterberry in the recently closed off access to the pond. And then the part where the fence is, the current fence, more bayberry planted there. And then in the triangle area, the big triangle, grasses, sweet fern and Pennsylvania sedge. So they have a plan and a date. And there's also the decision to, the white markers that are around, they're gonna remove those. Those were used for planting. But now they don't use them, they don't need them for identification anymore. And Henry Lind has a mapping program. So he has theoretically where all the plants are on this mapping program, and he fills that in. So they're gonna pull those stakes. Ask from people that walk there, that they didn't, like the looks of it, and they really don't need them.
Do they have a date for this?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Do they plan to send a planting plan?
Oh, I think they will closer to, that winterberry could be stunning, because that has red in the winter. In that area there, and it's like, wet roots. So they're hoping that will take there, it's trial and error, a lot of this stuff too.
Hey, Francis, I need to drop off. So,
All right, thank you.
great. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. And, just on, old and new business, I did contact the search committee, and I'm talking with Gagana this evening about the process. We have one, person who, is interested in having an interview. So do that, but if you know of anyone else, please share it with me, and, but the person of interest, I think would be, well, I haven't had the conversation yet, but I'm interested in having the conversation. And seeing how it goes and how interested he is in, joining the committee. But anybody else who did you get any recruits from the senior center, Alex, on your talk?
I haven't heard yet, but,
there didn't seem to be, I think, from the crowd, much interest in volunteering for that or the open space in the Conservation Commission. So
Okay.
We should
I-
hire Sean.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Oh, since we're talking about vacancies, I'd just like to mention that Concom still has a vacancy and we'll have another one at the end of June. So we're looking for 2 people. If you can spread out and put it in front of all your contacts and so on. And feel free to give out my phone number and email if anybody wants to chat about it.
All right. All right, any other old or new business people? Go ahead.
I'll just mention that I know we were doing some work days in the field last year. As the weather starts to improve, if there's some other small land management projects the open space committee wants to work on, keep me posted, and I can make arrangements for that.
I know there's one on that Higgins Trail that Bob Cook had showed me where the multi-floor rose is taking over, and there are natural brambles there that would be good to let thrive.
Yeah.
And then there's autumn olive.
Yeah, olives,
And
yeah.
all of this is in the place that's not disturbed, so. But that's gonna be in the spring, a little bit warmer, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the committee.
Oh, okay. Warm. Yeah, I say warm.
Okay.
So you can tell the plants apart.
Yeah, right, it's hard for us who want to.
Well, we're doing multi-floor rose.
Yeah, that we
and
can do.
autumn olive, that's, at least I'd be able to tell.
Okay, well, then we could schedule that, sooner. Rather than later.
You mean in March?
March.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's always fun.
we will schedule a, work day. Okay, I'll just write a note here, ask Alex to, and I'll remind you again in early March, ask Alex to schedule a work day. That's one work day.
If we have a nice stretch in March where it's, reasonably warm outside. That'd be nice.
Work day at Higgins. I mean, that's one I know off the top of my head. And then the next meeting is March 19th. Okay, that one is good. The April meeting, I'm gone a lot of April, so I can't run the meeting. And Joanna has some conflicts too, so we.
I'm gone the 16th. I'm gone that.
So
most of
that's
that
the
week.
third one, so you got the 9th and the 23rd, so I mean, we can make the decision next month, but. Look at your calendars for not the third week in,
Are you going to France?
yeah, I'm going the 3rd and I'm coming back the 23rd, so I'm not available.
The meeting, just look, the meeting before is the 19th, so
Okay,
we
the
definitely
March
don't want to have the second.
March 19th is the
Right.
March meeting.
Right, so the second is really too
Too soon, I think.
And then you're gone.
And then you've got 9 or 23. 23rd.
9 or 23. 23 would be good because May is 3 weeks later. I mean, 4 weeks.
So
Yeah.
Joanna, are you available on the 23rd?
23rd, I am available.
I am flying home
Okay.
that day. So I
So
won't be
open
here.
space committee, 2:30 on the 23rd.
Yeah.
I chair, which means I don't take the minutes, right? Yes. No, I could sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
And Karen, on the minutes, last month, I guess Michelle, those were her January minutes. Devin sent me the, AI summary.
AI summary, yeah.
I forwarded to Michelle. And,
How are those working out?
I used it, I had to do the minutes for, Forest Committee. So I had my notes, which is, it was a short, it wasn't that bad a meeting. But the minutes helped me, the AI helped me remember some conversation that I didn't have in my notes. But there were mistakes. I would never have submitted that because it was not accurate.
Okay.
And they kept missing people's names.
Yeah,
And they gave, this is what I was telling my husband. Gave all the statements to, there were 2 men and 2 women. The statements went to the men. And the women who had made those statements, it wasn't credited by the little write-up. I said, don't tell me they're already working on that. What is up with that? Anyway, the conspiracy theory on AI,
Yeah.
taking the voice
Yeah.
of women and subjugating it. How about that? So now they're trying.
Not
Yeah.
surprised to see those biases built in already.
Karen, if we could talk after, I need to go, I'm gonna
Okay.
try to get
Okay.
those. other letters.
Yeah, so I just want to let everybody know, I'm not going to be at the March meeting. I'm
Okay.
having cataract surgery, so I won't be at
Oh,
the
I
March
just
meeting.
had my right eye done
I
last
second
Tuesday,
that.
it's a week,
Okay.
a week out.
Mhm.
It's the
Favorite eye.
Not.
But
But we'll
all
talk.
in favor, meeting adjourned.